The third generation of Pokemon is one of the most beloved and nostalgic generations of Pokemon out there, mainly because for a lot of Pokemon fans today, their first handheld console was a Game Boy Advance. In fact, Generation 3 is so beloved that the main reason why we received Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire on the 3DS was because the fans wanted it so much. You guys think Gen 1ers are bad? Well, Gen 3ers are the reason why we have these games and not this. Makes it feel real bad for Zygarde now, doesn't it? Now, to its credit, Generation 3 does feature some pretty amazing Pokemon like Salamence, Metagross, and Gardevoir, but it also has its fair share of complete trash Pokemon. Generation 3 was where we first saw the introduction of Pokemon abilities, which for the most part made every Pokemon better. Giving a Pokemon an added ability to allow it to do things like be immune to ground moves or summon the rain, what can possibly go wrong? This is where Slaking comes in, a Generation 3 Pokemon with an ability so bad that it might just be the worst Generation 3 Pokemon out there. Before we get too far into this, I am your host Papa C, and in the Worst Pokemon series we analyze Pokemon from a competitive standpoint and determine if they are the worst Pokemon in a specific category or just simply the worst Pokemon out there. A competitive battle would mean something like a VGC tournament or a competitive Smogon singles type battle against an opponent with a competitively built team. This is extremely important to keep in mind since a competitive Pokemon battle is very different than using a Pokemon in-game against gym leaders or NPCs in something like the battle tree. Each Pokemon is rated on a scale 1 to 5 based on their offense, defense, versatility, move pool, and overall viability. If a Pokemon doesn't excel in any of these categories, then it is deemed to be a bad competitive Pokemon and potentially the worst Pokemon out there. So taking a closer look at Slaking, Slaking is a mono-normal type Pokemon with the ability Truant as well as a base stat line of 150 in HP, 160 in attack, 100 in defense, 95 in special attack, 65 in special defense, and 100 in speed. Now at first glance you might be thinking, wow, see, these stats are amazing. Why is this Pokemon in the worst Pokemon series? Well, let's take a look at Slaking's positive first before we get into the negatives as to why it's in this series. So for the first positive, a lot of generic positives here. Great HP, great attack stat, good speed, decent bulk, and a pretty wide offensive move pool. You also have that 95 special attack stat, which is actually decent enough to run a mix set if you so desire. That 150 HP stat makes up a little bit for that only 65 in special defense, as it will allow you to take some special hits. Since you're mono-normal, you're only weak to fighting, so that's also another bonus. Now like I've been saying, Slaking has some pretty good generic positives when it comes to being good Pokemon, as it seems to have everything you would want in a good Pokemon. The only thing that's missing from the positives list is the line, good ability, which would be true if Slaking had a great offensive ability like Mold Breaker or Thick Fat, which would really complement it. This is what leads us into our negatives, which surprisingly there aren't very many for a Pokemon that's featured in this series. So for the negatives, Viability, Truant. Yup, that's it. Just one negative. Now I'm sure you guys could maybe find a few more negatives for Slaking if you were to nitpick a little bit, but this is the sole reason why Slaking is such a bad Pokemon. For those of you who are unaware, Slaking has the ability Truant, which makes it so the user does literally nothing every other turn. This means that your Slaking can go for an attack one turn, and the next turn it just sits there, and the turn after that you can attack again. This might honestly be the worst ability in all of Pokemon, since it hinders the user so much and doesn't help you in any significant way at all. Some people might point out the fact that you can use a move like Giga Impact on Slaking that has a recharge turn, which would stack with the Truant turns of doing nothing every other turn, but you're still doing nothing for a full turn every other turn Slaking's in battle, whether you click Giga Impact or not. It's still one of the best normal type moves to run on Slaking, however, but you're better off using just about any other normal type Pokemon in the game, such as even Stoutland, since over the course of 2 turns, a Pokemon like Stoutland will do more damage than Slaking would, since Stoutland can attack twice in those 2 turns, while Slaking will only attack once in those 2 turns. As for the best Slaking set to run, here is Smogon's recommended Slaking set, which is Slaking with the Normalium Z, Truant ability, that's all you have, Max HP, Max Speed, Jolly Nature, Giga Impact, Earthquake, Fire Punch, and Pursuit. This set has some decent coverage, as well as the Normalium Z with Giga Impact, which should kill or cripple most Pokemon thanks to your high attack stat. Now there really isn't too much else to say about how to use Slaking, other than giving it Giga Impact with 3 other coverage moves, as well as a Jolly or Adamant Nature with an attack boosting item, which is the best way to go in my opinion. This is really a shame, since if it wasn't for this terrible ability, Slaking would probably end up being featured in the best Pokemon series instead of being in this worst Pokemon series instead. Now in terms of improvements, well, just about any other ability besides Truant would be a great start. Like seriously, even if Slaking had a completely useless ability like Run Away, it would be such a good Pokemon, but nope, gotta have Truant, which really holds this Pokemon back. I understand why they did it, they can't just completely get rid of this Pokemon's niche and give it a different ability that doesn't hinder it, but it would be amazing if this Pokemon actually had a decent ability. This would honestly be a Pokemon that has a serious chance of being in the best Pokemon series because of its high overall base stats. These stats are just so high. Moving on to Slaking's ratings, in terms of offense, Slaking will get a 3 out of 5. Because Slaking, it's a little bit tough to rate, especially in terms of offense, since although it does have that high attack stat, it can only attack once every other turn, which severely limits its overall offensive output. For this reason, I'll give Slaking a pretty low score of a 3 out of 5, but still somewhat respectable, since although you can do a lot of damage in that one single turn, over the course of the entire battle, Slaking's overall damage output wouldn't be that high. The 95 special attack is a nice bonus, since it does at least allow you to put some crazy coverage moves if you want on the special side, if you really want to for whatever reason. For defense, I will give Slaking a 4 out of 5. Now Slaking does have some nice defense stats, although that 65 in special defense is rather low, which I guess is somewhat made up for with the 150 HP stat. Slaking does also have access to the move Slack Off, which is very fitting given the name Slaking, which can help heal it. Overall, Slaking is actually a pretty decent bulky offensive Pokemon, capable of taking some hits on the defensive end. For versatility, I'll give Slaking a 1 out of 5 because there really just isn't that many different ways to run Slaking, although to be fair, getting a low score in versatility isn't always a bad thing. In Slaking's case, it's best used as a pure offensive Pokemon, as it only has the one ability in Truant and a Movepool that heavily leans towards being an offensive Pokemon. For Movepool, I'll give Slaking a 4 out of 5 because Slaking just has a great Movepool, so much so that you can definitely make the argument that Slaking deserves a 5 in this category. Slaking has some great offensive coverage moves like Earthquake, the Elemental Punches, Shadow Claw, and Sucker Punch, as well as some support moves like Yawn and Pursuit. Overall, this is a pretty great Movepool to have, even if it's on a Pokemon like Slaking. And for Viability, I would give Slaking a 1 out of 5. Although Slaking scored relatively highly in these categories for a Pokemon featured in this series, its ability is really what's holding Slaking back. Essentially, skipping every other turn is just horrible, as it makes it so much easier for your opponent to knock you out. There's really not much of a reason to use Slaking over just about any other normal type, and before anyone comments about how you know some gimmicky strategy in doubles to remove Truant, this isn't remotely close to being considered a viable strategy. You may pull it off a few times here and there, but that strategy won't get you very far. And that's Slaking. Is Slaking the worst Generation 3 Pokemon? Let me know what you think of Slaking in the comment section down below for a chance to have your comment featured in the next Worst Pokemon video, like this comment right here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great rest of your day. I will see you guys next time, and bye bye.